Bullock, and I'm Jenna Bosonko. And today our focus will be on the Economic and Social Council Youth Forum, and I'll be joined by Lala Toure, who was a youth representative at this particular event, bringing together young people from different walks of life to talk about policy formulations and just generally also criticize existing policies rather. And I made sure to go and get you the actual video to watch what Antonio Guterres had to say, the Secretary General of the United Nations, as well as other young people who attended this very important forum, ensuring that when discussions are made, they come into reality. And the fact that we had Gambian representatives there to actually bring back to young people the message at the level of the United Nations meeting. So let's take a look at this video, and when we come back, we'll engage with Lala Toure.
We need support. We need the government and the private sectors and civil societies to support us at all levels by involving us in all levels of meaningful decision-making processes and support our initiatives. Not only because we make up to 16% of the world's population or because we are the most educated generation so far, but because we have power.
We need you. I'm fully committed to bringing young people into political decision-making, not just listening to your views, but acting on them.
Together, we're not just dreamers, we are doers, committed to taking action. We're not just hopeful, but we together are powerful. So with each step that we take, we're not just shaping a better world, we're actually building it.
This year, we have an opportunity about rebuilding trust, about restoring hope. The upcoming Summit of the Future is a crucial momentum for commitments, for transformations on multilateralism.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto.
All right, welcome back from that short video. That is highlights of the Economic and Social Council Youth Forum, attended by Gambian Lala Toure. Thank you so much for joining us on the platform.
Thank you for having me, Jay. It's always a pleasure to be back here.
Yeah, so I just showed them that to give it a context, to show how, young people are hungry for change. And that, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres talked about how much young people are needed to ensure that there is the required change that we deserve, as a globe. And you participated. What can you tell us from your participation? Was it just one of those where you just go and then you come back? Which, eventually I believe young people are getting tired of. So what have you brought back from this meeting that you feel is meaningful to share with us?
Right, Jay, like you said in your opening, the ECOSOC Youth Forum is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, youth gatherings in the world that happens every year in New York. And this was the second time that I was in New York attending the ECOSOC, but this time as the Gambia's representative to the Commonwealth Youth Council, where we had a side event. And, like all the speakers said in the short video that you shared earlier on, this is a great opportunity for young people to add their voice to global issues, to add their voice, to take a stance, to speak up and speak out about issues that affect us in different parts of the world, whether we work in civil society, whether we are active participants in politics, whether we work on peace building, on climate change. And this year we spoke about a very fundamental issue, a very a phenomenon that is affecting young people around the world, and we basically shared platforms with change makers, with government officials, with civil society actors. And you
moderated 2 sessions.
Yeah, I moderated the Commonwealth Youth Council session. And to go back on your question on if this was one of those events where we just go participate, take pictures.
We're becoming tired
of. No, it wasn't. And I think that on our side session, which we did in partnership with UNICEF Generation Unlimited and the government of Ghana, created the avenue for you know, very strong, very open, very honest conversations between young people and policymakers on what can be done to ensure the enhanced participation and representation, inclusion of young people in global conversations on digital transformation. And from those conversations, we got very solid, very strong commitments that were made by governments that were participating in that conversation on strategies and initiatives that will be taken when they go back to their countries to ensure they're creating the platforms and opportunities
this is
for youth.
non-binding.
It's not. It's not binding in any way. And in these conversations, you know, you can only hope that when people go back to their governments and their countries, they can do something different.
Lala, the hope part, I'm becoming so tired of hoping as a young person, and I know a lot of young people watching as well. They're tired of hoping because, for example, I've covered the COP several times, and then, you know, the pledges are made every single time that you go, and then, you know, you can't bite. You don't have the teeth to bite because it's non-binding. So it becomes challenging. So what makes you believe they can implement these things? Because you're talking about the fact that it's not one of those.
So yeah, so I guess for starters, I guess just the mere fact that young people have a platform to sit and speak and talk about the issues that affect them, talk about the issues they're passionate about.
Lot of them?
You know, the problem is, yes, we do have a lot of them. Yes, we do have government officials come and make commitments and say, oh, when we go back to our countries, we're going to do this. These are the things we're going to do differently. And sometimes those things are never done, right? But I guess things are changing. Gradually, things are changing. Gradually, we are seeing changes happen. And for example, one of the key things that for me that really stood out for me was when the Honorable Minister from the Republic of Ghana came and he talked about things that they've actually done, recommendations that were made from like previous
best
forums,
practice that other countries
recommendations that were made from previous forums, and what they've been doing to ensure that these are not just things that it's not just lip service, but it's actually things that they're working on. It's actually things that they're partnering with young people on. And again, the concerns that we have, both of us and young people across the world, or these are just mere conversations that we have. Every year we spend so much money and come to these events and we talk. These were things that were brought up again by young people, that we are tired of coming to these platforms. We are tired of sharing, talking about the issues that affect us. We are tired of calling for commitment and seeing nothing done. And every year we come back and have these conversations. And I guess that's something that our policymakers, our governments, our people in positions of power, our decision makers really need to consider that it's about time that we take young people seriously. It's about time that we do not just do things to tick the box with young people, but we actually take the issues of young people very seriously. Because like it was said, young people make up a fundamental part of the global population. In the Gambia, for example, we make up over half of the country's population. And you see young people in the forefront of every significant, every meaningful conversation, every meaningful change that has been done in the country. And it's about time that we actually commit ourselves to providing sustainable solutions to issues that are affecting young people if we want to see change.
You are an individual at some point. You got into politics a little bit. There was a time.
Yes.
In your life, you did that, which was a bold step. And people were like, oh, this is a bold step. We see a young person is doing this. Because all the time we point at government, but we also have government in waiting, which is the political parties. So at that point, we saw you didn't stay. You had to go back into civil service, which is a good thing as well, because you've had significant impact, which we will get into with, you know, your former organization. So do you think it's just government, but how do you see also political parties in the Gambia when it comes to empowering young people? Because one might say, if you had felt empowered, you would have stayed. Or are we wrong to say, to assume?
I mean, I always like to say, just yesterday I was having a session with politicians. I work with political parties still. And just yesterday we were having a session and I was putting across the point that we cannot really achieve democracy, we can't really achieve change if we don't have fully functional political parties with effective structures, with internal democracy, but also with strategies and policies that seek to empower and build the capacities of women and young people that belong to these parties. I wouldn't say my decision to leave politics is because I wasn't empowered.
Okay, it has nothing to do with that?
It had nothing to do with empowerment.
Did you feel, as a young person, you felt that you belong there, as a young person?
I actually felt like I was making an impact in politics when I was a part of politics.
Okay.
And my decision to leave politics had nothing to do with empowerment or lack of capacity or lack of being supported as a young person. And I still today talk to young people about the significance of joining politics, about the significance of taking part in governance, about the significance of adding their voice and making sure they are taking a stance when it comes to our nation's decision making, our nation's governance, because we can't really achieve democracy, we can't achieve change if we're leaving behind young people, if we're leaving behind women, because these two make up the most significant part of our country's population, right? And I think my decision to leave politics had to do with the fact that there's a recognition, at least on my part, that you can contribute to national development in many different ways. And when I made the decision to transition, I made the decision that I was...
So she joined the United Democratic Party, in case if you're wondering which party that is.
Yes, so when I made the decision to transition, it was in recognition of the fact that I can actually create impact, I can actually make a difference, I can actually contribute to national development in many different ways. So I decided to transition from civil society into politics, then from politics to international development, where I worked for the past 4 years. And I had the opportunity to work with political parties, different political parties. I had the opportunity...
Like being part of a party was actually barring you from contributing enough?
I wouldn't say it was barring me from contributing. I wouldn't say it was not my calling. I still tell people eventually in the long run I'm going to get back into politics. I guess everybody is expecting me to get back into politics because people ask me these questions all the time. But I do feel like as a young person, when I do decide to get back into politics, I want it to be from a position of knowledge. I want it to be from a position of experience. I want it to be from a position of capacity and an understanding, but also experience, so I can meaningfully participate, I can meaningfully add value.
So you felt like your decision was too premature?
Not really.
Not really,
When I talk to young people, I tell them that politics is not supposed to be your career, right? You're supposed to come into politics with something. You're supposed to come into politics with a good track record, with a strong background. So you don't have your principles compromised because you want a job or because you want a car or because you want money.
You already have that.
You already have that. You've built a career. You're coming from a position
let's
of knowledge.
Let's have a conversation here. At a time that you're coming in with that,
not really.
Sometimes, not always.
Not always.
Not always. Where majority of the time, si Gambian context bi, because ñun ñep xam nañ the standard of living nu mété tej na ñun xalé yi ñun dañoo def multiple things. You know, just today I was checking you and you're consulting somewhere, you have a job, like we do, we go into different things, multiple income streams, to ensure that we live the life we deserve. But in the essence of that, it's a challenge. Do you agree with that?
I agree, and which is why I feel like I would add so much more value into politics if I came in at a later time in my life where I'm more prepared, where I have way more experience, I have a wealth of experience, I have a wealth of knowledge. I'm speaking and I'm talking and I'm contributing from a position of knowledge, experience and power. And I wouldn't exactly be in a position where I would... Because I need something, right? But I'm coming into this because of my principles, of my values, of my strong belief in creating an impact in the Gambia. We've seen, not just in the Gambia, I work with organizations across the African continent, and we've seen political parties across the African continent, and we've seen so many times where people compromise their principles because they don't have food on the table. Where people sell their votes because they don't have food. Afford right? And I don't think it's late. I think all young people should actually invest in building our capacities. We should invest in building our knowledge. We should invest in, strengthening our ability to lead, strengthening our ability to make decisions, to influence policies. So when we come to these decision-making tables, we are bringing something. And we're coming with something. And we are not in a position where we're like, oh, wow, because
so we're just going to go with that.
Yeah. But again, back to your point, to piggyback on your point where you're saying, oh, and that it wouldn't be too late. It wouldn't be too late. I'm 27.
Okay.
And if I decide in the next 2-3 years that I want to get back into politics, I would still be 30 or under 30.
Well,
and I would
then
still
that's
be young.
fine, as
So-
long as it's between the
Yeah.
youth bracket.
Yeah.
Because ba léegi ñeneen suñ joinee politics dañ dee wax ne waaw ñu ngi join politics waaye comme there's just a lot of excuses around it. Being a young person, legally it's there, 15 to 35 la. Loolu dafa war a leer.
Yeah.
Parce que mu ngi look young ba léegi mun ngaa dem ba 40 luwaa bi waxul loolu.
Yeah.
Young person 15 to 35 la anybody call leen ñu indil xëy na dina young suñ bëti waaye legally su amul legal age bi ñun tamit duñ ko mën a accept. You cannot shove it suñ throat yi ba forcé ñu ne this person is a young person just because dafa look young.
Yeah, just démba rek in my session ma doon am ak political parties yi.
Wow.
Loolu was one of the key things
The
that
young-
we're talking about, because we were looking at what's the definition of a youth in the Gambia, right? It's 15 to 35 based on AU's definition of young people. And we were talking about how certain parties nga dem fa nga gis ñu nga xamantene youth representatives wala ñu nekk send youth branches,
Te ñu ngi
send youth
50.
wings, ñu ngi 50, ñu ngi 40 something. You know, we really need to be serious about giving young people the opportunities.
Exactly.
We need to be serious about giving young people the platforms to be able to showcase their talents, but also to be able to lead. Munta neka lip service. Nga whole election data in the Gambia, nga whole young people, nga whole jigeni nunde vote, nunde geni during elections. Why so whole in terms of representation, jigeni very few women in power, very few young people in power, and that has to change.
A conversation but they neka around young people doing their action ben gis maybe probably an opportunity ba nga xamne jar nako pour ñu jël action, and then they would make noise. Because okay, in as much as sometimes am na change suñ buga waaye ñun tam lan lañ mën a def ba nga xam ne ñun suñ nekkee in the position of those people ñun dinañ mën a def changes yooyu.
Yep.
Comme for example buguma duga in depth, but I mean there's something happening currently. You know, it's been frowned at by everybody, but now léegi young people they want to do something to frown at it, to show it. Why léegi suñ focus tamit, which is okay, waaye naka lañ mën a delloowaat suñ focus ne ñun suñ fa nekkee si position yi ku ñoo génn di wax ne waruta def lii o ñu ñoo génn di wax waruñoo def lii ñun suñ fa nekkee how different are we going to be?
Yep.
loolu foog ñu wax ko de neexut de
neexut
te boo ko waxee ñu dog ñu dem ne di wax lii.
It's a hard conversation to have.
Conversation bi dañ ko war a am.
It's a difficult conversation to have. Waaye lu ma dee wax rek when it comes to, for example, corruption, when it comes to mismanagement of funds, when it comes to ñaaka doon njiit bu baax, it has nothing to do with age. Ndaw mun na koo nekka, mag mun na koo nekka, jigéen mun na koo nekka, góor mun na koo nekka. So it has nothing to do with age, it has nothing to do with gender. Nit soo jubee rek jub nga. waaye lu ñoo gën a ñaax suñ ndaw yi mooy saka ñun ñu bugg a nekk into politics, ñun ñu bugg a nekk ñu bugg a am place, ñu bugg a liggéeyal suñ réew, ñu bugg a taxawal suñ réew. jub bu ñoo oote si ñeneen ñi suñu la war a commencé.
ba pare balaa jub boobu sax ñun suñ fa nekkee ndax dinañ jub ñun.
It's a question.
ñoom nañ ko wax.
It's a question.
foog ñu laajte waat ko suñ boppa. The question boobu is about ñun suñ boppa organisation yu ñoo ron naka lañ ko nekk di ronee.
Yep.
xam nga dëgg bi. Sometimes you want to bring out these things, but always yow dañ laa gis si negative side bi.
I know what you're saying.
And it's very critical.
I know what you're saying.
And sometimes you might even feel that freedom of speech is even affected because boo génnee wax ñu añ la saagal.
Maa ñu taf sa nataal TikTok.
Taf sa nataal TikTok la saagal. So at the end of the day, freedom of speech bu ñoo wax nii sax ndax ñun young people sax because ñun young people si ñun la war a commencer pour ñu accept argument. yaa ngi understand. Like sometimes am na argument yooyu bëgg a put sa doo ko ñemee wax. te ñu ne freedom of speech, right to protest, right for people to speak, but you have a right to do so, but the next person does not have a right to point at what you're doing or ask you questions. So te loolu si ñun ndaw yi la.
I mean, Lena moom xam naa ko, as someone who has worked with organizations, has worked with political parties, has worked with young people, older people, government officials, Lena xam naa ko mooy ñun ni neen suñ biir war nañu xoolaat suñ biir
as young people
as young people yenn saa nga gis yu doy waar yuñ dee def si organisation
te leer nañu nañ xam nañ ko waaye ku si génn wax ñu ekkati la
yeah so yenn saa nañ gëstuwaat suñ boppa loolu rek laay wax foofu laay am
foofu ngaay am
nañ gëstuwaat
waaw waaye yow xam nga yu doy waar yi xam nga fu understand
nañ gëstuwaat suñ boppa
ñu seetaat suñ boppa lu ñoo oote na jógee suñu
Yeah.
at the end of the day lu ñoo oote na jógee suñu te loolu taxut mag bu fi def lu mu fi war a def ñun am nañ daay pour call la upon while yaa ngi si process bi pour def ko.
I mean, Jay, to be honest, it's very problematic today as young people. I mean, ñun ñëpp bëgg na ñëw gis ndawi Gambia ñu am place. ñun ñëpp bëgg na ñëw gis ndawi Gambia ñu nekk si positions yi nga xamante ne nañ mën a gis seen bopp. nañ mën a njëriñ seen bopp nañ mën a njëriñ seen réew. loolu moo tax ñu ngi liggéey I mean, that's why we're doing all these things, right?
And even sitting here having this conversation.
That's why for the past how many years we've been out there advocating, working with people, raising awareness. Why tamit it would be very difficult to make that case or to push that agenda further. So there you as a ndaw ñun la jox opportunity pour nga liggéey doo liggéey no war a liggéeyee. wala ñun la jox opportunity pour nga lead organisation yow njublang boo nekk di wax si nguur bi boobu moo nekk si yow si organisation boo nekk di ron so nañ bàyyi xel suñu bopp bu baax
waxtaan nag nañ leen waxtaan nag di waxante dëgg tey gis nañ fi ñoo xam ne ñu ngi liggéey government yaa ngi understand man awma mbokk government xaw ma fa kenn xaw ma kenn fenn waaye dëgg bi su jotee dañ koo wax parce que ñun tamit suñ plateforme lañ am nekk ay journaliste suñ gisee lu nga xamante ne warul dañ ko war a mën a put across government official bu fi toog dawal moto laalaa xaw ma ne yaa ngi ak man de dawal moto dañ ne yaagut bu mu toogee mu ngi jël moto di ko dawal waaye young person yi tamit ñu ngi read ay organisation tem nga gis leen ñoom it ñu dawal moto fan la moto bi jógee dëgg bi nag nañ ko teg si table bi te wax si so nañ seetaat suñ boppa because man soo gisee ñu ne youth dialogue pour ñun ñu waxtaan la understandante waaye sometimes ñun tamit as journalist fuñ toog fuñ sori am na yu ñoo gis government official bi nekk dugg na into office dawal na moto sampa na kër nga ne ok xaalis bi corruption la warut ñun ñëpp nangu nañ waaye yow tamit mii lead civil society organisations yi ñoom it dañ war di am ay auditors yi di génne because civil society organisation yu bari ay ndaw ko lead na auditors yi publish ñoom tamit seen audit report
yaa ngi laal fu serious
waaye lu war a am la
yaa ngi laal I mean
lu war a am la dañoo waxtaan
it's best practice
serious na waaye dëgg bi la
it's best practice
dañ génne seen audit report si ñu xool ko
loolu moo war a xew
ba pare audit report bi bu génnee yow yaa ngi dawal moto nga ne government official bi tamit kooku dawal na moto warut fine yow tamit mi ron government yow tamit mi ron civil society organisation sa moto bi fan nga ko jëlee du si xaalis bi organisation fan la xaalis bi jógee is it not donor partners nañ waxante dëgg nag
it's a very complex issue it's a very complex issue waaye
xam nga nangu nga ne complex
it's complex I mean loo nekk di wax maa la ko gën a xam man mu nekk maa la ko gën a xam I know it's happening I know for a fact it's happening I've seen cases where it is happening
exactly
waaye lu ñëw but that does not also loolu tamit taxut there are young people who are actually very honest who are actually very principled, who are very ethical, who are very great leaders, and can and they're standing up for
the truth.
They're standing up for justice. You know, why luma gëna ñaax young people mooy suñu joxe opportunity bu ñoo laajte bés bu ñu ko joxee then make sure we deliver. Let's make sure ñu def lu ñu war ñu def loo xam ne loolu la yeneen ndaw yi di séntu si ñoom because the problem is when you don't do that you make it extremely difficult for other young people pour ñoom it ñu dugga si you make it extremely difficult for other young people pour ñoom it ñu am access to those opportunities so it's not just about you as an individual it's not just about us it's about ñu nekk suñu gannaaw ak opportunities yu mu war a create pour ñoom it ñu mën a ñëw ñu continue ñun fan la ñoo stop because ñun we're here because other people started this work and they stopped. We took over from them. Ñeneen will take over from us. So wherever we are, whether it's with civil society, whether political party, or whether government, even young people, ñoo jox place si nguur bi sax ñu dem ba foofu faate lan moo tax gars yi dem si place yooyu daf dee am, so suñu amee place yooyu noonu wala ñu am opportunities yooyu always nañ remember lan moo tax ñu nekk si place yooyu nañ remember liggéeyal suñu réew liggéeyal suñu ndaw taxawal digga loolu rek moo am njëriñ
loolu rek a am njëriñ te loolu mooy yóbbu Gambia bi forward because currently gis nañ online lu fa nekk di xew when it comes to these issues and ñun ñëpp neexuñu bu dee loo li nga xamante ne warut la because for example ñu ngi wax about Yaya Jammeh assets tamit ñun as young people feel nañ ne assets yooyu noonu suñ ko defoon nu waree xaalis boobu bi ñu wax ne moom lañ lose allegedly loolu suñ waroon a dugga into the Gambian economy daf doon bring a lot of changes daf doon bring a lot of changes so ñun loolu gënaluñu waaye daal nañ make sure ne rek comme noo ko waxee ak man ni ma ko waxee whatever that we are after ñun buñ fa nekkee nañ gën a jub kooku mi nga xam ne mu ngi fa te nañ continuer di laajte suñ boppa ne yal na ñun buñ fa nekkee nañ gën a jub ba pare ndax dinañ jub tamit waaw loolu nekk na loo leadership dañ ko dee tem to jël ñu def ko lu niiw te lu rëy la it's a big deal and I'm happy ne yow ñëw nga fi wax nga ne da nga feel ne yow dafa am loo war a teg si table bi xam nga tey loolu honesty moo ko tax ne am na loo war a teg si table bi and you have to even bring bigger things pour nga mën a create visible impact bi nga xam ne yow war nga ko mën a gisal sa boppa so that topic aside now let's talk about USA. You know, you used to work with an organization. You were part of the young people in the Gambia who was affected by Donald Trump's new policies of putting America first. And your organization, NDI, you know, has closed, and, you know, you've implemented a lot of projects under this, you know, and you've transitioned, you know, as a young person. After politics, you took a job there, and, you know, you've rose through the ranks. And now this organization is no more. As a young person, what does this tell you?
I mean, what this tells me is the need for, I mean, this does not, the Trump policies and the executive orders that he's been given since he took over in January has not just affected Gambia, affecting African countries, because all these offices, all these international organizations that are shutting down, we're creating really valuable impact in many African countries, supporting government, supporting civil society, supporting grassroots and communities, right? So what this tells me as a young person is for us to really start thinking about being independent of foreign aid, being independent of international support, because Ken Hamut, mun nañoo jóg rek ñu ne defatuñ mën nañoo jóg rek ñu ne liggéeyatuñ fii mënatuñ amatuñ lu ñoo joxe. So then what happens when to make those decisions, right? And this has really affected nekkut NDI rek a teach Gambia. There's been so many organizations in Gambia lost their jobs, organizations that were even civil society organizations yu nga xamante ne their funding used to come from NDI, our office used to come from other international organizations. Ñooñu sax they will have to cut down because léegi duñ amaat access to that much funding pour mën a def seen activities yi. Because what Trump did, it was not just to make the decision that these offices will close, it was also to shut down USAID. And anybody who knows USAID knows how much money they used to pump into development work, into democracy work, into governance work around the world. So man lu ma wax rek mooy this is a wake-up call. It's a time for us to reevaluate. It's a time for us to strategize on how to make sure we're independent and we're making sure our development for our development is ñun ñoo ko fondal suñu boppa ñun ñooy nekk ci kanam from the government coffers, you know. But also to think about the impact this has had. I mean, a lot of us nekkut ñëpp a mun a come out of this, ñu dem into consultancy wala ñu dem into exactly am na ñu bëri ñu ma xam ñi nga xamante ne ñu ngi toog seen kër yi ñu ngi ut liggéey amul liggéey am na ñu bëri ñu nga xamante ne it's very difficult to transition from international development work to maybe working for the government because the pay is like guddeeg suba it's like guddeeg bëccëg, right? So I know a lot of young people in Gambia right now who are struggling to transition from that because nekkul lu nga xamante ne danga ko plan, nekkul lu nga xamante ne it just happened, right? It went from all
so yéen dafa announce loolu rek mu tëj or am ngeen
smooth transition lañ am. We had about 3 months bu nga xamante ne we knew what was happening and then we were like transitioning. We were shutting down programs, we were telling partners we were closing and whatnot, but it's not easy, right? It's not easy, especially like when you're very passionate about the work that was being done. My work with NDI was passion. It was passion. Passion drove me to do.
I could see the enjoyment.
So just being able to like sit with senior government officials and like balama don't duga into all this international development work. I was like very digger bopper on Facebook and fighting with people.
You stopped all of
that. I had to grow. Like I had to grow.
It's not worth it.
I had to grow, and then I had the chance to sit with people from the president's office, from ministries, and work with them to make change on things that I probably would have. Exactly, right? And I was working with them, and I was partnering with them, and I was seeing them actually work on these things to make change in the Gambia, right? On communication more effectively with the public.
Sometimes when you're not in it, do they happen?
That, but also the fact that we can make change in different ways.
Okay.
We can make change in different ways. Muna am su nekkoon maa ngi continue nekk Facebook nekk xale bu dëgër bopp boobu noonu. I wouldn't have had the chance to help the government do a lot of the things that I helped them do. But I had the chance to do that, and I saw the impact it was making.
And you know what? This is the whole goal.
Yeah.
This is the whole goal. Because sometimes talk Facebook, di wax rek mënuta indi difference.
No.
So yow mi talk Facebook di wax wala di capitalize on opportunities of wax in the name of wax kase. Yow like tell sa boppa what thing man bañuma Facebook bi is good because Jammeh for example buñ ko bëggoon a génne dëkk bi opportunity boobu lañ use dañ use our different social media platforms wax même dem waaye si biir wax boobu tam dafa war a àndaa def boo xam ne we can point at it or dimbale system bi.
It's important. It's important that people are online and talking and sharing our opinions, and because loolu rek moo dee gonna tax ñu gonna promote freedom of speech.
Exactly.
Nit yi gonna muna wax. Nit yi gonna muna am taxawaay.
Man tey soo gisee ma muna toog fii sa di wax yéen it's because of freedom of speech that we are enjoying.
So it's important, but lu ma nekk di wax mooy sometimes you can actually create more impact working with those people.
Then
you can. Because man luma just at that moment was there's so much that we were able to do, in a short period of time. And it was unbelievable. Like, it was unbelievable. The mother and talk, and I would tell my assistants at work, my former assistants at the office, and I was like, I can't believe we just did this today. Like, we would spend a whole week, like, we would be at retreats with government officials, with political parties. We would bring opposition and government together, and we would sit them down in the on the same table, and they would reach a consensus. They will have dialogue. They will have substantive political conversations, right? We were able to organize a political debate where Halifa Sallah, Honorable Halifa Sallah, Esa Fall participated. We were able to support civil society to like go back into communities, to talk to people about accountability, to promote civic engagement. We were able to bring government and civil society on the same tables every quarter to talk about how they can collectively champion transparency in the Gambia and open governance. Because you say civil society for the most part, Nyama government, it's like HO want to push and pull, but we were able to bring them on the same tables. And then on days like that, when I would go home, I'll be like, this is actually impact. This is actually, you know. So, ulumagana nyah young people, build your capacities. Jangalen, ngen build your capacities, ngen experience, because lolu rek mola muna may opportunity, mola muna may platform, you muna contribute at a very high level in national development.
Wow, it's very key. It's very, very key.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you're a perfect example of the Lala that used to be on Facebook doing all the talking hulu, and then you called it growth. I think it's growth.
It's growth. It's growth.
And it's beautiful.
People see me and they're like, oh, wow, fun. Like, where have you been? What have you been up to?
Wow.
And then now, like, they go on my socials and all I post is my work, what I've been doing, where I have been at, and it has opened up so many incredible doors for me. And I'm share all of this because for me, it's only right that I talk about these things because there are young girls out there who look up to me, who come to me and say, oh, we want to be like you, or can you like guide us, can you mentor us? And I want them to know my journey. I want them to know how I have invested into growing, how I have transitioned, how I've invested in my growth, and how I've learned from things that I wouldn't necessarily want them to do wrong. So
you were a person connected in the Facebook space of the whole and now you have transitioned into this. Your space be right now, how are you judging it? naka nga nekk di George space bi. You've not been there doing the talking thing for a while. So now, naka nga ko George from afar, being a person ko xam ne léegi defatu loolu.
I've just been there observing, and I've just been there learning, unlearning, relearning. And comme nu ma ko waxee, it's important that people are on social media talking.
Very well.
But it's how you talk that matters. It's how you're using your social media platforms to advocate for what's right for Gambia and Gambians. And I have seen young people using their social media accounts to do incredible work.
Yes.
To speak up and speak out.
Incredible.
Because danga gis ne nekkul ñëpp am opportunities, nekkul ñëpp am even confidence bi pour génn pour wax, right? So ñu ngi gis young people ñu nga xamante ne ñu ngi use seen platforms yi pour def loolu. Waaye leneen lu ma bàyyi xel tamit moo nekk how people are using it for the wrong reasons as well. I mean, nga dem TikTok, nga dem, you know, nga dem Facebook, and nga just saagante bi, nga just hasante bi, nga just unyu wante sutura bi, nga just how women, young people are being victimized and are being dragged through the mud and are like victims of revenge
sharing.
So it's sad.
It's sad.
It's sad to see all of those things happen. And lu ma gën a ñaax young people yi mooy ñu xam naka la ñuy use social media. ñu xam lan la ñoo wax social media. ñu xam lan la ñoo def social media. ñu xam seen taxawaay lan la moo nekk social media.
And also, naka lañ mën a transition into constructive arguments.
Yeah.
Comme for example, tey Jenaba génn na mu wax lii. Agree uma ak lu Jenaba wax, but I would counter it. And Jenaba can rebut that.
Yeah.
How?
Yep.
But it's so far away.
Yeah.
We're so far away from the dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, dialogue with Dal Muntaneka.
Yeah.
Man tay warna muna on ñaka agree ak nit mu ñew tok fi ñu debate. There are things we don't have the same views. Why mënu ñoo fexé ba am lolu right now? It's the internet space and it's getting out of hand.
It's very toxic. It can be very toxic.
It's getting out of hand. And Senegal, for example, they're even taking measures. They take nini.
Yeah.
Because the moment nga def lolu, then where's the democracy?
Yeah. It can be very toxic. It can be very toxic. Why luma just yoka si lolu moy pour wax ne in certain countries, we've seen in some countries, and I know in the Gambia they have the cyberbullying bill or act in parliament right now, and they're trying to pass it. But I'm not yena engagements yunde am online. I'm not nit local wahal. I'm not nit no local tumal. I'm not. It stays with them, right? Especially with jigeen and young people. So you gonna buy some help, but also new work government be nen try ñu am luwa yu nga xamantene nit, for example, so jëlé natali jambu mu share ko. Feka, you have grounds to like, you know, take legal action. And defamation, so amna legal grounds for jail action, right? All of these can be done to ensure legislation protects people online. Because ñu ngi just jigéen ak ndaw yi lu ñoo dunda ci internet bi, and it's sad.
And I think suñ court si bu leen ragal. I feel like Gambian bi dafa ragal court. Gambian bi dafa ragal dem court. Dem leen court.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like Gambia legi courts are very, very transparent.
Yeah.
It's very, very balanced.
Yeah.
So it's something that lu nit ñi wara why so waxe court rek dafa am this thing surrounding it. Take people to court now, from now on, if you feel like you know, they're affecting you and it's not a right thing. Take them. I think we should normalize taking each other to court. Senegal, for example, lo dega rek ñu la porte plainte. Even a little thing they take you. So I think we should do that in Gambia. And I think when we do that, eventually then the ground will be level for conversations instead of, you know, attacking each other and defaming people's characters and all of that. So what next for you? I saw you say you're resting, but I don't believe that.
You know, I mean, I said I was resting, and then I have all these things that I have to work on now. But the difference is now I'm working at my own pace. I am working like in my own house. I can like get in my car and go to the beach and walk from there. I can walk from a cafe, whatever, because I'm consulting and I'm free. And I just decided to take time to rest because utum halis nehna, am halis nehna. Right, I mean, you need to prioritize your mental health and yourself. When you got in here,
what did I tell you?
You're tired. I know.
Because as young people with the whole multiple income streams.
Yeah, and it used to get so exhausting because when I was working with NDI, I was pretty much leading like the whole programs office. So
Yeah.
I had staff, I had like all these programs to run at the same time. So sometimes I would be in the office by like 10 p.m.,
Wow.
11 p.m., you know, and it would really get so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I've done it for like so many years. And since I like left high school, you know how like I'm not yet like since by high school, or they have 4
have
years to
times
go
to
to
party
UTG
and not work.
They have time to go to university.
Yeah.
And like I never had, like I had to work and study at the same time. I had to work from when I left high school to date.
Me too.
No rest, nothing. So this time I'm just taking this time to myself.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of myself and I'm sleeping in.
Oh,
I
and I can see the glow.
I am eating. I am taking care of myself.
Yeah.
If I need to take breaks, I'm taking breaks. But also, I am still doing consultancies. So
Yeah.
I am working with. Currently, I'm working with 2 organizations. I'm working with Genset and
Yeah.
NED, and we've recently just completed an activity with political parties.
Yeah, I
So
saw that.
yeah, we'll be doing that in the next couple of weeks. And I'm also doing a consultancy with Femnet in East Africa.
Yeah.
So we're working on a Pan-African paper on reparations. So we will be introducing this to the African Union very
Nice.
soon. So yeah, so I'm doing, you know, bits and pieces here and there. Well,
but anyway, just from high school liggéey dafa metti.
dafa metti.
You know, UTG.
It's a lot.
Waaw, am na ñoo xam ne the whole UTG seen parents yi dañ leen ne oh demal jànga rek loolu laa la may.
It's a
But
lot.
for some of us we had to, you know.
But Jay, what leena lu ma bëgg a yokk si waxtaan bi mooy I know a lot of young people, a lot of young women, ñu nekk UTG, ñu nekk di struggle. Ñu nekk di struggle in the sense that amuñ support. Comme ñun suñ maas yi nga xamante ne we had to like study, work at the same time and pay. But that's because we had opportunities to work somewhere. am na ndaw yi nga xamante ne mënuñoo jeexal seen programme because amuñ fi ñëw liggéey. léegi liggéey bu nekk ñu ne la oh you need to come with 3 years experience. 4 years experience fekk yow yaa ngi jóge high school dem UTG pour am internship buñ laa fay sax you can't have it. People exploit young people. They exploit young people. Sooy liggéeyloo nit da nga ko war a fay sooy jox young people internship da nga ko war a fay. nañ jàppale ndaw yi nañ dimbale ndaw yi ñu mën a am access to opportunities nu ñoo mën a liggéeyee nu ñoo mën a jàppalee seen boppa because maa ngi xam a lot of young women ñu nekk UTG bëgga nañ jànga ñu ngi try luñ mun waaye mënuñoo continuer right. So ñuy gën a ñaax government ñuy gën a ñaax private sector bi even ñuy gën a create opportunities pour young people pour ñu mën a gën a liggéeyal seen réew liggéeyal seen bopp as well.
It's worth it. Why are you thinking of government? No, it doesn't come to you sometimes.
Transition into government? I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, I am at a stage in my life where lu ma gën a soxal moo nekk pour liggéeyal suma réew right lu ma gën a soxal moo nekk pour create an impact liggéey because man when I travel a lot and when I travel outside and I see you know dëkk yooyu noonu si stage yu nekk ma gis liggéey buñ nekk def ma gis ñu nekk di doolele jigéen yi doolele ndaw yi you know dama dee bëgg a gis loolu suma réew dama dee bëgg a ñëw liggéey man tamit ma mën a defal loolu suma réew right I mean I guess like we all love Gambia we all want to see Gambia change we all want to see Gambia develop
and I think we love Gambia even because suñ morom yi we are in the same group doing the work that we do.
Yeah.
And
people ask me.
Manam, ñun mom.
Ñun ngi toog rek. As ma demee ma ñëw and my mom, bless her, daf ma den always daf ma de oh Lala bi yoon soo demee fooguloo nga toog. I'm like yeah, bëgguma toog. I want to come back. I want to work for my country, right? And kudos to like people ñi nga xamante ne they left and they're doing amazingly well in other countries. They're doing amazingly well. Ñoom it ñu ngi def luñ mun ñu ngi yónnee si Gambia. ñu ngi jàppale Gambia with remittances which makes up a huge chunk of our GDP. But man, I don't see myself leaving Gambia. I don't see myself. I said it on Twitter once and people were like, oh, maybe it's coming from a place of privilege. It's not coming from a place of privilege. I struggle in Gambia. Gambia ñëpp fi nekk di struggle, right? But this is my home. This is my heart. This is where I belong. This is where I can wake up and see people I love, eat food I love, walk around and I feel like I belong. I'm just not another number. I'm just not an immigrant. Like I'm in my own country and I can create an impact. And that's why I stay. That's why everybody's leaving and man mangi fi like.
Wow, man,
So
I think it's the same thing. With all
yeah,
of us.
so
Man sa rin ma dewa do try nga apply plan nga daw dem because maybe so that way fofu ligay bo am sa baax na nga dajale ko because fofu foreign currency la.
no,
So
but
didn't make sense.
No.
But I mean, we're here.
so again, you work, you obviously make money than you would make in the
Yeah,
Gambia.
because it's obvious.
Yeah, but back to your question, I mean, the going back to working in the international spaces, if it's obviously more money, but I think I'm at a space where money is no longer, like, not my priority. My priority is to work for my country and to create impact. And I would think about next steps and decisions to take, but we'll see what happens.
Good luck with that. Good
Yeah.
luck with that. Ñun daal ñu ngi fi daal ñu ngi Gambia waaw.
Ñu ngi
Waaw,
toog.
ñu ngi toog.
ñu ngi
Waaw.
siisu, ñu ngi bañ a dem.
ñu ngi sampu.
Sampu rek.
Yes, but always they'll be like, yo, yaa ngi fi, kon you're here. I'm like, I'm here.
yaa fi ba léegi.
Yeah.
su ma dee ñëw at the airport, there's this guy, bless him, léegi dafa xambe suma kanam bi xam naa inaata la ko tege ma ne ko mbinaa la I'll keep coming. I'm coming home. This is my home.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Lala. I mean, it's almost 1 hour. I can't believe that because we have so much to catch up on and talk about.
I know.
And thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank
and,
you.
you know, allowing us to also talk about the little sensitive issues that we touched on. I just hope Nesma Ewo, I'm not going to see something, but anyway, we were gentle. We didn't say anything wrong.
No, we didn't.
Wow, gentle na flat.
No, we didn't.
I believe so too.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is all we have time for. Have a good night, and do not forget to tune in next week for another interesting program. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.